Let's take our photos from this to this. Let's talk about at least 5 ways to use the new Generative Fill on Adobe's Photoshop Generative Fill feature. Their AI, their new fancy AI stuff. So we'll go over at least 5 things, if not more, if I find some bonuses along the way. And let's just get straight into it. So the first thing is to create a bigger picture. So say you take a picture and it's square or it's horizontal or vertical or whatever, or it's just not big enough. You can expand the photo with Adobe's AI. So first you're gonna open Photoshop, the beta version as of right now, if not the regular version, if it's included by the time you're watching this. And you're going to take whatever tool you really wanna use. Usually you'll probably just use the crop tool and you'll expand your photo a little bit. I'm gonna go above and beyond and just expand it a little over the top. So you have your new photo, you have your white area around. So you'll take your marquee tool and you'll mark a box inside your photo that's just a little bit smaller than your photo. And this helps the AI a little bit to expand it better. So there's not like a harsh line. And then you'll right click and select the inverse. And that's when you'll have the option for all of the white area as well as a little bit of your photo. And you'll go to your Generative Fill. You can type whatever you want. You could say, add more buildings, add the sky. For me, I'm just gonna click generate and see what it offers me to do. And if you really wanna learn how to use the Photoshop's AI tool, I have a video somewhere in the description above here, how to use the tool. And this is going to be more or less an in-depth tutorial on things you can do with the tool. So check that out if you wanna learn some more about using it specifically and some of the caveats behind it. But right now, it's almost done here. So it is done. It created my photo and it did a really fantastic job. You can barely tell it made any mistakes except for over here that looks a little funky. But you do have some other options. You have 3. So we'll go to the second one, see what that looks like. That one looks a lot better. It looks like a boat here and here instead of the first one adding, it looks like a restaurant, which is kind of cool. I'm pretty sure that might even be what was there. And then we'll go here to the third photo, which gets rid of any boats on the side. And I think that one looks probably the most realistic, but this one also works really well. It added the tips of the buildings, it added more on the side, and if you zoom in here, you can't really tell where it added it. I honestly don't even remember where it was added, probably somewhere over here. Yeah, so the only way you can really tell with Adobe's new photo, or with Adobe's new Generative Fill, is the part it adds is a little bit blurry. It's not as high resolution. I have a 45 megapixel camera, and even if you don't, it still is never perfectly, sharp. And there is a way around this. It's a pretty big workaround in my opinion. So I would recommend expanding your photo this much because it could be more noticeable. I'll try to link the video down in the description from the YouTuber that I keep seeing that talks about it. It's a very in-depth thing, so I think it's useful to watch that one. So just remember, it's not always perfect, but it does pass unless someone zooms in on all of your photos on Instagram. So that's a really awesome way to expand your photo. And it's something I might even do because I really wanted to add some tops of the buildings here, which I missed taking the photo because I had to zoom in a little bit and the generative AI wasn't out when I took this photo a couple of months ago. So the next topic here is going to be adding big things. So like adding something to your photo. So in this example, I'm going to use the lasso tool. I'm just going to select this big upper portion of the photo, and I'm going to tell it what to do this time. I'm going to say, add tall mountains, something very short, simple, and sweet, and then we'll see what it comes up with. And boom, it's done. So obviously this first option is not amazing because this definitely looks like it's somewhere in Arizona or Utah because that's where it was taken. And then it added the very pointy type of mountains, let's call them, that you would see in like Colorado or the Rockies or something like that. So it doesn't match really that well. And we'll kind of just keep going and find one that maybe works. This one probably works the best. It matches a lot better. It makes more sense. And, I think that would look good. Personally, I would just keep it the way it was with the original, but it's still kind of a cool thing that you can do is just adding background elements. And the cool thing about that is it actually added like mountains in the background. It moved them and has depth, if that makes sense. So that's a pretty cool feature you can do to add things into your photo. The next thing here is we're gonna push Adobe hard. So what we're gonna do is select all of these boats and just kind of try to remove them to see what it does, or just to see what it thinks it needs to do. And you see just selecting a huge section, and it literally just removed all of those boats. Now, I personally like the boats, but that is like a third of the photo. It just replaced with just the lake and made it just that photo, which is extremely crazy to me that it did that. And it even went so far as to add more buildings or towns into the photo. And I really like the look of this one. It's really cool. Now, again, I would keep the original photo or add something in the background instead, but you can really push the limits of this AI, which is really impressive compared to other AI tools that are out there that can do things. This was a photo taken in, fall time. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to select the entire photo and I'm going to tell it, make it winter. I've never done this before. I'm just trying to push the limits of AI to really show you what you could and could not do with it. Sometimes it's a little janky, sometimes it's a little funny, but you can honestly do almost anything you really want with it. And I'll show you the jankiness on this next part here after we see what it does with this photo. But I'm gonna try to add another cable car. And last time I did this, it added like cartoon cable cars, which was really funny, and it definitely didn't work. Maybe it'll be different this time. It seems to be different every time. So this just made an entirely new photo. Honestly, it looks like they just took a winter photo from a stock website and just threw it on top of mine. So obviously that doesn't work super well to select your whole photo, but you might be able to select like portions of your photo and say add snow, and that might work. It's just really dependent on the situation. And the cool part about Adobe's AI, I guess it could be cool or not, is that it's different every single time. So if I were to say a prompt right here and then circle the same selection and say the prompt again, it would give me different results every single time. It's not consistent in that way, which is good but bad. I would imagine it's just like, going and learning and trying all these things so that it can be eventually pushed into the normal Photoshop. So obviously here, this definitely did not work again, but it even added a chair lift. So we're just gonna ignore that and delete that. But here is the fun part where you can say, add another cable car, and it might be good or it might be bad. You never really know. And this is kind of the part that I wouldn't really use Photoshop for, this feature. I wouldn't want to add things into my photos like this specifically. Maybe adding a mountain range or something little or minute, something you wouldn't really notice that much. And as you can see, it adds like these fake looking cable cars. So this is a moment where you would probably use your clone stamping tool instead of your generative fill. Or you could use them in combination to kind of make it fluent. So that's kind of where Photoshop falls short, but I'm not mad about it because it does a really good job at everything else. So the next part of this is removal of objects. I want to show you a few different things we can do with removing objects or even adding objects. I'm going to skip this photo because this one right here is a really good example that I've already tried. Hopefully it works again. Basically, I just selected this entire portion and I say remove fence and add river in background. And hopefully this will work like it did last time, but what it did is it literally just removed the entire fence and placed it with the river. It was a really, really awesome first try, but it can do big or little things. And boom, we have something. So as you can see, it did a really good job at removing the fence, but it made us look a little funny. But we have a couple of options here to pick from. This one honestly looks normal. I wouldn't really beat an eye at that. I might even just keep that. See, this one looks a little janky what they did here, but this one looks really good. You can't really tell there's many issues. I might need some fixing up here and here, but other than that, it looks normal. So this is a really cool photo and a really good way to remove objects. And now let's go a little bit above and beyond here. I already did this photo once, so let's hopefully it does a good job again. But you can see how much is here. And it's just so many things and people and etc. that are around. And I'll start with the hard part here just to show you. I'm not gonna do this whole photo. And boom, look at that. It literally just removed it. Even on my backside by the backpack, it's all gone. You can go as far as to removing all the cars and everything, and it's crazy. You can remove literally everything. I could probably honestly even remove the background part, the arch, like who knows at this point. So the long story short is you can take almost anything out of your photo. You can fix things that don't look good. You can make things look better. You can add things in to make your photo a little more dynamic. Even for an example like this, you can go ahead and remove this little dirt patch. I don't like that, so I would just remove it. And doing this with like content aware or doing your clone stamp would take 17 years to do, and this takes maybe just a few seconds for your computer to think. So it's definitely a very beneficial tool, and there's probably a few more ways you could use generative fill. Honestly, if there's anything else you would use it for, it's super minor, or it's something you really probably shouldn't push in your photo. I would realistically just use it to add minor things and take out a lot of things that are in your photo, or fixing your photo up like that to make it a little bit more fluent, if that makes sense. So that's really it for generative fill for now. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more AI tools out there, and we'll see you guys on the next one.